Have you ever found yourself questioning whether you could ever trust someone again after they've breached your trust? It's something many of us have faced at some point in our lives. The pain of betrayal, the sting of disappointment, the hurt and the tears. These feelings can leave us wondering if it's even worth trying to mend the relationship, and questioning if trust can ever be earned back again. Sisters, let me put this out there, and I don't believe a trust that's been breached, broken, or shattered can be earned. Nor do I believe it can be fixed, like gluing back together a broken lamp. But what if instead of thinking about trust as something that can be earned back, or fixed, we approach it as something that can be cultivated and nurtured over time? Just stay with me for a few minutes and discover how this shift in perspective can transform our approach to healing relationships and rebuilding connections. Let's begin. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You don't know how badly his betrayal hurt me, or how deeply she hurt me, or how badly they hurt me. And dear, you're right, I don't know your specific pain. But I do know that across all our diverse experiences, we've all felt the sting of a broken trust. So let's explore together how we can shift from the idea of earning trust to cultivating it. This approach isn't about forgetting what happened, or pretending the hurt doesn't exist. It's about creating a path forward, one where both parties actively participate in growing something new and potentially stronger. Imagine, if you will, that trust is like a garden. When it's damaged, we can't simply demand it spring back to life or patch it up with quick fixes. Instead, we have to tend and nurture it, creating the right conditions for it, not to grow back to how it was before, dears, but rather to grow anew. Sisters, can you go back when a relationship has been breached? Or are you set to go forward, rebuilding that relationship into something new, and maybe something even stronger? Can't you see that this process isn't about the other person proving their worthiness or passing your set of rules or tests? It's about cultivating an environment where trust can take root and flourish once more. Let's say you're growing tomatoes in your backyard, or maybe you're nurturing a delicate orchid on your apartment windowsill. One day, you wake up to find that a storm has ravaged your plants. The tomato vines are torn, the orchid stem is bent. Do you simply throw everything away and start over? No. You carefully assess the damage, prune what needs to be removed, prop up the bent orchid with a small stake and tie, and then you nurture those plants back to health. Can't you see that rebuilding trust in a relationship is a lot like rebuilding a storm-struck garden? When it's damaged, we can't just expect it to magically reappear the exact way it was before. Similarly, we can't demand that someone earn our trust back through a series of trials or tests. Sisters, the broken relationship needs to be cultivated, creating the right conditions for it to grow again, possibly stronger than before. Now, dears, I want to be clear. Cultivating trust after a serious breach is not easy. It's going to take time, effort, and patience from both or all parties involved. It's like rehabilitating an injured muscle. When you're recovering from a muscle injury, you don't immediately jump back into intense workouts. You start small, with gentle stretches and controlled movements. You pay attention to how your body responds, adjusting your efforts accordingly. Some days you might feel progress, while other days might bring discomfort or setbacks. But with patience and persistence, that muscle gradually regains its strength, sometimes becoming even more resilient than before. The same principle applies to cultivating trust in a damaged relationship. It's not about grand gestures or immediate transformations, because, dears, they don't last. You want to know what does last? Consistent, small acts of reliability, honesty, and vulnerability. It's about open communication, setting clear boundaries, and respecting those boundaries. It's about acknowledging the pain that person caused, and that person showing genuine remorse through actions, and not just words, or through their own tears. Sisters, the person who breached the trust must be committed to change and growth, but the injured party must be just as committed to playing their part in creating an environment where trust can be rebuilt. This doesn't mean forgetting or minimizing the breach, but it does mean being open to the possibility of forgiveness, healing, and growth. So I ask you, my sisters, are you ready to approach rebuilding trust, not as a test to be passed, but as a garden to be tended? Are you willing to put in the consistent, gentle effort required to cultivate something beautiful from the ashes of what was broken? Because that's where the real healing begins, and where stronger, more resilient relationships can bloom. If you're ready to cultivate this new trust, you need to start with open, honest communication. Share your feelings, sisters, and truly listen to the other person's. Create a safe space where both of you can be vulnerable. This is the fertile soil in which trust can take root. Next, it's crucial to set clear expectations. Have a heartfelt discussion about what you both need to feel secure in the relationship, moving forward. Think of these expectations as the framework for your garden, as they provide structure and support for growth. Then, dears, you want to start small. Just as you wouldn't expect a seedling to bear fruit immediately, trust can't be rebuilt in a day. Remember, you're starting from ground zero, so you want to begin with minor acts of trust before moving to bigger ones. Each small act of reliability is like a drop of water, nourishing the fragile new trust. Also, consistency is key, my sisters. Regular, reliable behavior, over time, is what truly cultivates trust. It's like the daily tending of a garden, the same consistent care can allow trust to flourish. Then, as you're working on rebuilding, you must also practice forgiveness. This doesn't mean forgetting the hurt, but it does mean letting go of resentment. I know this can be hard, sisters, but it's doable. And it's crucial for your own healing, as much as for the relationship. Think of forgiveness as pruning away the dead leaves, allowing new growth to emerge. When we hold on to resentment, it's like leaving withered, diseased leaves on a plant. They drain energy and prevent new, healthy growth. Similarly, holding on to anger and bitterness can poison our own hearts and stunt the growth of new trust. Now please understand me, sisters. I want to be very clear here, and that's, forgiveness doesn't mean what happened was okay. It doesn't erase the past or invalidate your pain. Forgiveness isn't really about the other person, it's about freeing yourself from the burden of carrying that hurt around with you every single day. And yes, the process takes time. Some days, you might feel like you've forgiven, and the next day, the anger comes rushing back. That's normal. Forgiveness isn't a one-time event, it's a practice, a choice you make again and again and again. As you practice forgiveness, you might find that not only does it allow for new trust to grow in your relationship, but it also brings a sense of peace and freedom to your own heart. It creates space for joy, love, and new possibilities. Finally, and often the hardest, is to be patient. Trust, like any living thing, needs time to grow. Some days you'll see progress, other days might feel like a setback. But with consistent care and patience, trust can bloom again. Now remember, dear ones, cultivating trust doesn't mean you have to stay in situations that are harmful or abusive. Your well-being and your safety should always come first. But in those relationships where healing is possible, this approach of cultivation can lead to a stronger, more resilient bond. So, the next time you face a breach of trust, I encourage you to think like a gardener. Assess the damage, create the right conditions for regrowth, and nurture that trust back to health. You might be surprised at how beautifully it can bloom again. Until next time.